Hello, everyone. Thank you for viewing our program. You're watching Voices. And Voices is a program of the Communication Department of the Atlantic Caribbean Union of Seventh-day Adventists. This union covers the Cayman Islands, the Turks and Caicos Islands, as well as, of course, the Bahamas. Again, we're delighted and we welcome you to Voices. In studio with me, two very good friends. I dare say that they are men of God, and God has been blessing and using them in a very personal way. One, we've got Brother Jeff Rodgers, and two, Brother Beneby. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey.
This is Voices.
Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. And Brother Benson, it's a joy.
Pastor, it's a joy and a pleasure to be on this program with you, and I certainly hope that at the end of the day, those who listen will be blessed.
All right.
By it.
Thank you so much. And as we share this evening, I just want you to be aware, and for our listening audience, I believe that we've got two young men in the studio with me whom God has blessed in such a powerful way. They have a human interest story that I think will excite you. They're going to talk about faith and stewardship and prayer, and I really do hope and trust that the program will be a blessing to you as you view it. So I begin with Jeff. Jeff, tell us a little bit about Jeff Rodgers, please.
Wow. Well, first let me say how grateful I am to be here today. It's some very exciting time. And I truly thank God for spending my life, just to be alive amongst the living. God has been good to me, always been. I guess I'm just learning that or understanding that. When I look back at my life, it's just so much to be thankful for. And I'm just happy to know that I understand that everything is about my life, it's all about Him. And so it's a joy and a privilege, for me to serve Him faithfully. Because that is something I truly believe, and that's something I try to remind myself each day about my relationship with Him. So being here today is just a blessing for me to be here.
Okay. And you also, Brother Benson, tell us a little bit about you.
Pastor, my name is Beneby. I've been worshiping at a number of the Adventist churches. I'm presently attending Bethany, which I enjoy very much. It has helped me to grow in faith and obedience and faithful to God. And I think because of my obedience and faithfulness to God that He's been good to me.
Okay.
And I continue to experience His goodness towards me and my family every day. My kids are kids that were graduating from Mama's Academy,
okay.
and that Christian education has been extremely good for them, not only for them as citizens of the country, but also in my home. And I certainly hope that they will continue to carry this wherever they go.
Thank you so much for that, Benson. The both of you know each other for a long time. Am I right about that?
Oh, yeah.
Jeff, do you remember so many years ago going to Eleuthera,
right,
and you took an NBA player and Benson was there? Do you remember that? Can you share that with us?
I think that was back in the days. I think it was Charles Barkley and Clyde Drexler. Michael Thompson.
Michael.
And, that was when Michael had his NBA celebrity basketball game. It was like an all-star game. Back in the days, that's when you had players like Magic Johnson,
that's right,
some of the bigger names, Spud Webb, Ray Williams, and Gus, and all those guys. They were down here. I remember that. I think Benson used to be a manager for one of the hotels down in. I remember
Cotton Bay Resort.
So you guys know each other from that time.
From that time,
go way back.
Yeah.
And God has kept you in each other's life, I guess, for a reason. I'm sure it is.
Yes.
And each of you have had your own experiences. Jeff, when you look back, and you can share with us, where's God brought you from?
Wow, a million miles. God has really blessed me in many different ways. Like Benson's story, I joined the church back in the 70s. And I think I came in under Pastor Macmillan Crusade, and right away I got active, get involved in the church, just trying to make myself known. And there's so much I can talk about in terms of my experience, since I became a Seventh-day Adventist. But because of time, I just would say now, when I look at my life, to see the things I'm doing, right now, working in Washington as the senior manager for the Ministry of Tourism. And I'm doing that, and to see how He kept me and allowed me to be so creative in my performance, in my work. And I know it's only Him.
Right.
And then when I look at the Jeff Rodgers basketball camp, for example, you know, that I've been involved in now for the past, 29 years, and to know that all of this came about being in the Adventist church, you know. So it's just so much, you know, to look back on. When I look at my life, I have a lot to be thankful for, and I'm truly thankful and grateful to him for the many blessings. And I just feel committed, you know, and I've given my life to him 100%.
Okay. Now, Jeff, I remember that whenever you open your mouth and you talk, whether you're watching an NBA game on location or you're here, the first things that come out of your mouth is a gratitude to God.
Yes, yes. Well, you know what? I'm fully conscious of it because I know that my life is about him. There's nothing that I can say about me that I can say it's about me. Everything is about God. And the one thing I understand about living a Christian experience, you have to line your life up, you know, with him. And I also understand that's the only thing that lasts. A number of folks, you know, walk up to me, how are you able to keep the Jeff Rodgers camp consistently for so many years? I said, well, you got to line it up. The only thing that lines up lasts, and lining up with God. And you know, I've seen camps come and go. And so that's what my life is about. And I have to remind myself that, you know, if he cannot be a part of what my life is about, then I don't want to be a part of it.
Wow.
And that's why I always bring him to the surface. You know, I can share this. There was a time, one of my major sponsors for many years is the Crystal Palace Hotel. And they said to me one evening, you know, when you bring your remarks, can you not mention God's name when you acknowledge, you know, to say thank you to the sponsors and all the town guests? And this is what the sponsors telling me. You can't do that because you don't want to offend anybody. And I say to myself, he got to be joking. Now, I know they pay for all of the NBA players, you know, for their hotel, their meals and everything else. Well, I was prepared, you know, to lose that sponsorship. And when they introduced me to bring some remarks, the thank you remarks, I said, well, first of all, let me thank God for life. You know, he just looked at me like, are you crazy? Well, again, you know, you have to know what, you have to understand your relationship with God. And I do understand that.
Beautiful.
God is everything to me. And wherever I go, he's along with me.
Let me bring Benson into the picture. Benson, I believe that God has been good to you. Is that right?
Pastor, being beyond good to me. I mean, better to me than I can ever be to myself. He's brought me through some situations that I know it really could be God that has brought me through it. I thank him because I'm only here today simply because of him. I've got just recently being released out of the hospital, been through a situation, and God has brought me through. And I've committed my life to him, and I realize that he keeps anything that's committed on to him, and I've committed my life to him.
Wow. So this year you've been in hospital more than once?
But this year being once, but I've been, including this year, I've been more than once.
Okay. And God took you through and brought you out?
Yes. So, I mean, so much so that I've had the experience of being airlifted to Jackson Memorial Hospital in a coma for a month. And he brought me out of that and brought me back home.
In a coma?
Right.
Jeff, Benson, I should say, let me ask you this one. You were part of the Pathfinder band some time ago.
Yes. I played the saxophone.
You used to play the saxophone.
I played in the police band, and I also played in the Church called Prophecy Band, one of the founders of the junior Prophecy, the jumper band, the junior band.
And you had an experience when you played for us.
Right. Shortly after that I worked as the financial controller at Shell. The week I played for the Pathfinders that weekend, and the following week, I think it was that Wednesday or Tuesday, I had an aneurysm where I was airlifted to Jackson Memorial Hospital. And
you lived to tell about it.
I came back here, and I'm still here.
For the benefit of those who don't understand what you mean when you say an aneurysm, tell me what that's about.
I had a vessel that was burst that ruptured in the brain.
And fluid?
The brain was overflowed with the blood from the ruptured vessel, and they had to drain it off the brain to be able to release the pressure from off the brain. And the swelling, so the swelling can go down. And so I went through that. And
so you're still working now, Benson?
Yes, I am working. I'm currently employed at BAIC as a senior officer in the handicraft and Export Development Department.
After having an aneurysm,
God's good, man.
God
God's
is
good.
good. God
God's
is good.
yeah.
Jeff, I'm reading something coming through, and I think you could identify with it. Prayer has to be important, hey?
Wow, prayer. Yeah, my life is about prayer. You know, I spend a lot of time praying, and truly it's a part of my life. I have my own series of prayer. You know, I have something called the 5 hour of prayer, where every now and then I'll pray for 5 hours. And I started that many years ago. And the amazing thing about that experience when I first started, I used to be active playing basketball. So sometimes the hour would meet me on the basketball court. So I'm like, excuse myself out of the game, disappear for a few seconds just to get it in there. You know, and so prayer is my life. It is my life, and there's no way I can live without it.
Now, when you say this 5 hour prayer, what do you mean? You mean like every hour?
No, every 5 hours.
Every 5 hours?
I would pray.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I have, it depends, you know, and then there's so many different, you know, things I do when it comes to prayer life. I have one like a prayer that I call the David prayer.
Okay.
You know, when I stretch out and I go face down.
Okay.
You know? And I pray because of the relationship with God. Not that I'm so much praying for something, but I just enjoy the relationship. And sometimes I just want to feel the overflow of His presence in my life. And so for me, I just pray to just ask Him to keep me faithful. You know, it's not that I'm praying for anything. You know, I'm one of those persons who believe in faithfulness. You know, I don't mind how much you share your Bible stories or go from Genesis to Revelation, and if you're not faithful, I feel like your work is in vain. Faithfulness is what excites God. You know, and so that's my life. You know, being faithful.
I get the impression you enjoy praying.
Oh yes, I do. I do. It's truly a part of my life, and one of the things I enjoy doing in this basketball camp is the session for me to come up and talk about God. You know, to the young people. You know, talk about you know, life and how to put God first in your life, how to make Him a part of your life through prayer, and all the things that I can think about, and to see how He worked in my life. And again, it just comes right down to prayer.
Okay, let me ask Benson, how important is prayer for you, Benson?
Pastor, prayer is very important to me, and it doesn't matter where I'm at or what I'm doing. I always have a prayer in my heart. I can be walking, sitting down at my desk at work. I continue to pray. And it has worked for me, and it has kept me. One of the things I realize is that God is able to keep anything that's being committed onto Him. And my daily life, I commit onto Him, because I want to make sure that those who I come into contact with be able to see Christ in me and through me, and that they too will want to be drawn nearer to Him and experience Christ the way I have.
Benson, one of the times I visited you in the hospital, there was a gentleman who was shot right next to you. And he had been by a beach or something like that, and they tried to rob him and all of that. How do you feel when you're in a hospital and people all around you with all kinds of situations?
Pastor, the only thing you can do is to begin to share Christ with them, because you don't know how much longer they're going to be next to you. You know, in the hospital, I always tell, it was so amazing the last time with the nurse. I said, it must be amazing when you go home at night and come in the morning, and then the person in the room you've been serving, you ask the nurse, well, what happened to Mr. So-and-so, and they tell you they're expired. One of the nurses said to me, said, Mr. Beneby, it's no longer today or tomorrow. She said, I take a break and come back, and the person is dead in the room who I was serving. So I try to share Christ wherever I am, because I realize that Christ is what all but us here to make sure that none of us is lost. He said, whosoever, that's all of us. And so I think we have a responsibility to try and draw everybody to Christ who we come in contact with.
I know that's one of the things that some of the NBA fellas are impressed with you, Jeff, because you're not asking them for anything. If you wanted to be a rich person, I guess you could have, eh?
Well, yeah, you know, I think, you know, what amazed me sometimes when I look back, and I get this all the time, even on my job in Washington, when I meet with corporate America, and they go to my site and they would offer, Mr. Rodgers, question, how do you build this relationship with these men? I mean, how do you get them to come every year, all these years, to your basketball camp? Well, again, I take no credit. I thank God for just allowing me to meet people, and it's all about Him.
Okay.
And so, the one thing I don't hide is my relationship with God. Even on my job, when I have to go out and meet with corporate America, we start talking, and I always make sure, find a way to include God in my discussion.
Okay.
I always give Him credit, and so that's what it's all about.
So God has been so good to you. You were not always the brightest kid in the class.
No. No. But the way how that works is that He creates ways for you to better yourself.
Okay.
You attend seminars, you go to workshops, and all that kind of stuff, and you will see how you can sharpen your skills.
Okay.
And that's how it works.
Okay.
Yeah.
And here's what the Word of God says: He'll cause you to ride upon the high places of the earth.
That's how it is.
And that's what's been
You just have to
happening
put your trust in God. The bottom line, you got to be able to understand the way God operates. Put no limit on Him. He can make things happen, and He can make ways out of no ways. He can open doors that no man can open. So the whole idea is for you to put your trust and confidence in God. Bottom line.
So you take Benson then. If I look at Benson, you've had your issues health-wise. That means that you should probably be paying rent. You've got children, they should be somewhere down there and all the rest of it. But is that the way it is? Do you pay rent?
No, boss. The house that I live in, I own. I've got the papers for my house.
Wow.
In my bureau at home. And so God has been good to me. I mean, it's unfortunate the way it was paid for because of the death of my wife, Kim. And she has been a blessing to me in life and in death. And we missed her tremendously. But it's just those things that we don't question God. She died in Christ, and I will see her again.
Okay.
And that's the hope that I live with every day. But I realize that our life is a life of Christ every day. I remember the Claudius Morgan crusade that was just passed. There was an elderly lady they're attending from a walker. She beckoned on me to come and see her, and as I inclined my ears to her mouth to hear what she's got to say, she said, "I want you to walk me up to the altar so that I can be baptized and saved." What is it that she saw in me that day? I don't know, but I certainly hope that it was Christ that she saw in me, and that she asked me to do that for her.
Okay. That's beautiful. We're going to take a break right here. We'll be back in just a moment. So we just want to say to our audience, please don't turn the television dial or anything like that. We're talking with Jeff Rodgers and Benson Beneby, and it's a joy to have you join us. So please don't go. We'll be right back.
We thank God for our feet every day. We have to stay on our feet. The pressure is tough on our bodies, but we have to keep right on our feet. In Scripture, our feet must be covered with the gospel. The fact that we've been reconciled to Christ, the fact that we've given our lives to Christ, we stand on this foundation of salvation. But not just stand on it, but we walk with our pretty feet and we take the gospel to people. And we ask God to protect us because we want our feet to go where God wants us to go. We want to hear a still small voice saying, "This is the way, walk ye in it." Why don't you give God a chance to lead your feet today?
Welcome back. This is Voices. I'm Eric D. Clark, and it's a joy to have you in studio with me. Benson Beneby and Jeff Rodgers, two good friends of mine. Welcome again, gentlemen. Before the break, we were talking about a lot of things, and we're just saying how it pays to be faithful to God. One of the things that just blesses me is the fact that even Jesus' experience with Peter to both of you, Benson and Jeff, when Jesus says to Peter, I've prayed for you. And out of all the things that Jesus could pray for, he says, I pray for your faith, that your faith fail not.
Right.
And that tells me that, money and everything else is not as important as having that connection, that relationship, that faith with God. Benson, do you have that experience where you realize that God is always with you?
I have, Pastor, had that experience when I was airlifted to Jackson Memorial Hospital, coma, in May of '98, when the maid, the nurse, came into my room that morning. She walked over to the window and she looked up into heavens, and she looked back at me laying in the bed, and she said, Mr. Beneby, are you a Christian? And I said to her, yes, I am. She says, you got to be, because the atmosphere in your room is in no other room in this hospital. That said something to me. That let me know that God was with me in that room, even in my circumstances and conditions. And that tells me that He promised me never to leave me nor to forsake me. And that tells me that He is with me always. And my faith has grown in Christ tremendously. From that experience and from other experiences as well. I'm comforted daily that Christ is with me and will always keep me.
Okay, good. Jeff's stewardship has been, I remember you served as the stewardship director for a couple of churches, but you have come to realize that everything that you have, it's God who gives it to you. As a result of that, you have made commitments, financial and otherwise. Can you share that with me?
Well, for me, it's a joy, to return a faithful tithe and to give a good offering, because again, I know that He's the one who would make things happen for me.
Okay.
And I encourage anyone. You would never understand how God can bless you till you decided to be faithful to Him and returning those tithes and giving a good free will offering. That's when you really see Him come to work. And you're going to be tested. There are going to be times when you're going to be tested with the rent money and this bill and the next bill, but trust me, it's nothing like just giving it to Him. Let Him work it out. Let Him manage the funds for you. And I'm telling you, it's an experience that will take you through life once you make up your mind to be faithful to Him and returning those tithing and giving a faithful offering.
Do you find yourself giving more sometimes than normal?
Well, to be truthful to you, I've always stick around my regular. And it depends on how I receive. If you get a little extra, you want to show some love.
All right.
And that's how it is.
Okay.
And so everything based. But the main thing is, when you get that paycheck, for me, I get excited knowing that He is the one who made it possible for me to have this check. And so giving Him back His money and saying thank you to Him by giving a free will offering is a blessing for my life.
Do you find that He always gives you more?
Always gives me more. The amazing thing for me is the fact that how He can take a little portion and make a big thing out of it. Because sometimes if I don't be faithful to Him and you figure like you can get more mileage if you manage all the money, and all of a sudden the money just disappears.
Wow.
But once you take His money out and you left with just a little, it's amazing how long you can go with that. I don't know how He does it, but it pays just to be faithful. And so I encourage folks, to just build a relationship with God. I mean, He's a friend.
Yeah.
He's not some God who just waiting for you to fail and to punish you for your failure. Listen to me. Build a relationship. The build a relationship is to spend time with Him. Get to know Him as a friend, as a God, as a brother, however you want to place Him in your life. Just let Him be number one in your life. If you got problems, talk with Him. He can answer. He'll respond to you. And I see why when I was young they talk about the personal experience. That's what you need. Okay. And so for me, it works.
I asked the both of you. Are there any areas do you think that you should keep God out of? Any private areas, any personal areas?
No, Pastor. There's no area in my life that I think I would want to keep God out of, because as I lived every day and abide on His shadow, I can just imagine if I wasn't abiding on His shadow, you wonder why some people commit suicide, because they've got nothing to hold on to. So I'm happy to keep Christ in my life. So whatever goes wrong, wherever I can hold on to Him. He's sure.
What about relationships? I mean, should you consult him? Should you?
Oh yeah, I think I think in our relationship that we should consult God in our relationship, because He knows best. He knows your heart, and the point about it, He knows His will and His purpose for our lives, and what it's going to take us to get to His will and His purpose for our lives. And so we ought to allow Him to make those decisions for our lives.
What about business ventures, man?
Yeah, I think, the whole idea for me, Pastor Clark, it's all about wanting to serve God. You can't just turn Him on and turn Him off.
Okay.
It has to be something that you have decided in your life that this is what I want in my life. I want to be a Christian, not a temporary Christian,
Okay.
but someone who wants to live this life right out to the very end. And so once you accept that, whatever you do, you're going to talk to Him.
Okay.
That's your business partner. That's your friend. He's everything to you.
Okay.
And so you're not going to allow yourself to get into anything without Him. And so that's me. I can't speak for nobody else.
Jeff, you get a chance to rub shoulders, and Benson in his own way also, with, let's call them celebrities,
Yes.
with basketball superstars. And also, I guess with that, there are the women folk also.
Yeah.
How do you deal with some of the pressures
Right.
that is brought to bear on any individual who operate in those kinds of circles?
Well, again, you have to know what you really want out of this life. You know the things you have to do in order to stay focused. For me, yes, I do come around in that kind of environment where you find a lot of females, in this modern world today.
Right.
One time ago, men used to approach the ladies. Now the ladies approaching the men.
Wow.
And so being in a place like Washington, D.C. in particular, you have to be strong, and you have to be honest with yourself.
Okay.
Don't do things that you know that is going to mislead people to you that you should not do. Okay. And so and that's the way it's happened. If you know somebody wants to spend some time with you, or what you're doing tonight, or things that can get you in trouble, you got to be like Joseph. Put on that shoes and get ready to run.
Okay.
Because it's going to come after you. It's real. I mean, for me, there's no hiding. There's no shortcut. The reality is you're going to face temptation. That's just life. The question is, how do you deal with it? You deal with it by being honest. Be true to yourself. Don't lead yourself somewhere where you're going to get into trouble.
Okay.
Pastor,
that's the bottom line.
my view on that is that if we're going to live a life for Christ, we ought to live it in all aspects of our lives. And we ought to daily learn to put our flesh bring our flesh on subjection, and not allow our flesh to lead us into things that is not pleasing to God, because He doesn't dwell nowhere that's not pleasing to Him. And so if we want Christ to dwell in us, we got to make sure that our lives allow Him to live in us and dwell in us.
Okay.
And so I think we need to be upfront, whether it be male or female, and let them know what you stand for. If you stand for Christ, you have to stand for Christ in all things, in all ways.
That's right. And I appreciate that. Would you believe it? The time is just about gone for us, and I just want to ask you to give one word of advice or counsel to those who are watching the program, whether it's from a standpoint that they're battling with issues. There are a lot of young people watch our programs also. They have their own struggles. Is there a word that you would just want to say as we close off the program?
Pastor, I would say to anybody out there, if you're looking for something to hold on to in your life, hold on to Christ.
Okay.
Give Him a try, and believe you, He won't fail you.
All right.
That is my advice to anybody out there.
Hold on to Christ.
Hold on to Christ.
He will not
He will not fail you. Never.
I agree with you 100%. Jeff, in your own words.
Well, the first thing I would say, once you commit yourself to God, just be faithful. That's it. Just be faithful.
And He will cause you to ride upon the high places of the earth. And both of you are living testimonies of that. Jeff, you have had your challenges through the sporting and all of that, and and look where God has brought you from, you know? And I'm very, very proud of you, man.
Appreciate
Same
that.
thing with Benson. You're like a big brother to me. Known you from a long time.
Thank you, Pastor.
And you've come through your issues and trials and struggles, but you're still hanging on there. And God has just brought you. And so I just want to assure you guys of the prayers of the union for you, and the leadership and the team, the members, and we trust that the program would have been a blessing to somebody watching today. We give God thanks, and I know that there are scores and scores of other young men, just like Jeff and Benson, and as they've mentioned, you just want to hold on to Jesus, and you want to be faithful, and that God, as we pray, Lord, transform me, He will do just that. And the half would not have been told. Until next time, I'm Eric Clark saying so long, and may God hold you in the hollow of His powerful hand.